Summer is over. We are back to doing our AGY podcast. We got some new faces that we need to get introduced to the gym, to the show, to the thing. Maggie, you want to start since you're so excited to talk?
I'm stoked. My name is Maggie Salmonich. I am from Michigan originally. I went to Ohio State, played soccer there. Then I went to North Carolina, and now I'm in Kansas City.
Love it. Nailed it.
Thanks.
I am Tyler Lear. I'm from Spencer, Iowa, small little town up north. I moved to Kansas City in 2021, just before I graduated from South Dakota State. And now I am chasing my dreams as a sports performance coach.
Yes. I love it. Do you guys want to refresh an introduction, or are you good?
You're holding the mics.
I was just kidding. You absolutely don't have to. It's Tay from the Tay and Mac Show.
It's Tay from the Tay and Mac Show.
Oh, I miss Mac.
I know. I miss Mac too.
Hope she's good. Mac, we hope you're good. We hope you're good.
Shout out Mac for sure. Since you two have been here, is there anything you absolutely love about Kansas City so far? I know you've been here longer.
I love the atmosphere. I just feel like it's still Midwestern enough, but not to the point where I still feel like I'm in the cornfields of Iowa. But the one thing I don't like is
Cornfields of Iowa.
just the traffic. People can't drive around here personally, but
Yes.
that's the Iowa in me.
I really like the grass. You guys have really nice grass. I told Tyler this the other day. What else? There's a lot to do, concert-wise, athletics. I think that's something that in North Carolina we didn't have. So coming here, we're really trying to do something every weekend, whether it's a concert or a game.
Tay, you got your book.
Yeah.
Did you bring it?
Absolutely, I brought it.
So one of my thoughts was, as we kind of get started with the new season, I guess, now that summer's over and we get to get back to doing this because we have time again, combining sharing a bit about ourselves, but also in a way helping the kids we're helping in a different way. So I thought it'd be fun to kind of share with the audience. That's weird. Audience is weird. Share with whoever's listening to this. Kind of a book that if we went back and we're like, yo, 16-year-old self, read this book, what would it be? So Tay, since you brought yours,
Yes.
what'd you go with?
I went with, it's called Advice Not Given, A Guide to Getting Over Yourself.
Yes, that sounds amazing.
Yes, a wonderful, wonderful book, a wonderful read, really about, letting go of your ego. In high school, I felt like I was holding on to a lot of things to fit a certain picture, a certain idea, and it was uncomfortable. It wasn't me. But I didn't understand that at the time, and I think this book would have really helped me understand that it is completely and entirely okay to be someone that is not everyone. So
I feel like my 45-year-old self needs to read that book.
absolutely, it's definitely something I reference often. So
I love it.
yeah, if anybody wants to read it.
I'll borrow it.
Okay, here.
Me next.
We'll do it. AGY Book Club. I love it. Maggie, what's your book?
My book is called Radical Acceptance.
Yes.
And, well, first of all, when you asked that question, I was like, you couldn't have... 16-year-old Maggie would not have read any book.
Same. Same.
Yeah.
Facts.
So second of all, Radical Acceptance, it's kind of just a book about accepting where you are in the moment, not worrying about the things you can't control. I think 16-year-old Maggie was a ball of stress, in everything. Soccer, school, life, and even in college. And I think sometimes if I would have just accepted who I was, where I was in life, and not trying to control everything, I would have had a lot more fun and been a lot better at soccer.
I like both of those. But I also think I wouldn't have probably read anything in high school. I also think there's something to be said about not having all the answers in high school, right? Not having all the answers in life ever and just learning as you go along. And I think, maybe certain books are meant for certain periods of your life, you know? So,
Absolutely.
not to say that I wouldn't recommend any of these to my 16-year-old self. I also think that just having maybe a better understanding of life, those books hit differently at different points in your life. So, personally, I just actually finished a book called The Measure. Not so like, I don't know how to phrase it, but I thought it was really good in the sense that, so basically everyone wakes up one morning to a box on their doorstep. It would be addressed to you. It has your name on the top, and it says, within the box is the measure of your life. And so some people, and we're talking about all over the world, right? So like US, other countries. Some people choose to open the box, some people choose not to open the box. The people who have opened the box already, there is a string inside the box, and the string measures out to the measure of your life, meaning how long you will live. So some people have very short strings, some people have very long strings, and everywhere in between. And so it's just very thought-provoking in the sense of like, if you knew, would that change how you live your life? Would that change the choices that you make, the people that you interact with, you know, pretty much everything? And I guess on top of that, would you want to know that information? So I thought it was very thought-provoking.
Yeah. So would you open your box?
I don't think I would want to. I think I would be very tempted to open it. But I think in the grand scheme of things, I would be happier by not opening it. What do you guys
That's where
think?
my mind goes first. Like I would, if I did open it and it was like a centimeter long,
Yeah.
oh my God, I'd
Yeah.
just be like,
Yeah, you got like 2 years left to live.
destroyed, devastated. Like,
Right.
I mean, yes, my life would change. I would do all sorts of stuff that
Right.
I wouldn't do if I guess I was living those 2 years under the thought that I had 30 to go. Damn.
But I think also like, so, you know, I think there's lots, it's easy, I think, to say like, oh, if I only knew I had 2 years left, I would do X, Y, Z, make the most of it. But I think then on the flip side, there's also like decisions that you might not make, like, oh, if I only know I've got so much time left, I'm not going to get on that airplane because what if the airplane goes down? Or I'm not going to do this thing because what if that's the last time I do that thing? Right? So I've been thinking about it since reading it, and it's just, there's lots. And I highly recommend everyone read the book because you see both sides of it and like why some people chose to live the way they did based on if they knew how long the string was.
Man. Okay, I think I need to read that
Yeah,
one.
it's
That
good.
sounds awesome.
So my book would probably have to be, but also I'll go with, was never a reader. Didn't like to read too much, but I do love to read autobiographies of athletes just to see not only the type of person they are, because obviously we see the athlete that they are by watching them on TV, but seeing their backstory and what it truly takes to get to that level. And I'd have to pick probably the Mamba mentality from Kobe. So one of the biggest things that's always stuck with me was not from Kobe himself, but it was a quote by Jason Williams. So he talks about when he was in the league to start and he was playing a young Kobe and Shaq team. They were top of the team, top of the crop. And he talks about when they played them, he got into the gym at 3 a.m. to get up 400 shots. He was going to make 400 and then he'd go to the sauna. When he gets there, Kobe's already there, already shooting. He's there for about an hour, hour and a half, goes to sit on the bench. And when he's sitting there, Kobe's still going for another 25 minutes until after he finally finishes. But then he asked him after the game where Kobe dropped 40 points, like why, like what made you do that? And he asked him, and Kobe said, because I saw you come in. I wanted you to know it doesn't matter how hard you work, I'm willing to work harder than you. You inspired me to be better. So I like that mentality and utilizing that to the point of using others around you to inspire you to be better. And it just shows how hard it is to be great. And one thing that still always sits in my mind is I think back to like when I was playing high school football. By my junior year, I was one of the starting running backs. But then senior year, I mean, I was already started for a year, kind of got complacent, didn't really put in the effort and kind of was just going through the motions until I got benched when I was thinking like, oh, I'm the starting running back. This would never happen. But then I got benched for a sophomore, and it was super eye-opening. And still to this day, it still kind of sits with me wrong that I didn't have that mentality to even each day, just because I was the starting guy, that I need to be better than I was the day before. So that would be the book that I would probably have to choose.
I like it.
Solid.
I like it. Yeah. So I'm saying I feel like I need to change my book now that like we all addressed that we weren't readers in high school. Now it's like, do I want to go with a book that, because of the title, I might have actually been like, ooh, I'll read that, which would be The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Mm-hmm. It's actually a great book. Have you guys read it at all?
No.
You have?
I haven't gotten to that one
Big
yet.
fan. You know, he obviously uses the word to draw you in and keep you in there, but it is written with some humor in it, and it does talk about, you know, like one thing that he says that I think is funny is like, we give too many fucks about things that don't matter. And it's like, where are you going to put your fucks? Right. And I love that. So I could see 16-year-old me being like, bad word, going to read it. I'm all in. And so then if I could get myself to read that book and be like, hey, I got one more for you. My book that I was originally going to come with is Grit. Love the book Grit. For me, before kids or when the kids were really young, it was just about, showing up every day, going through the hard things to keep trying to grow. AGY is really where it came from. But now that I have my own kids getting older, and then we have all of the kids that train with us that very much in a lot of ways feel like my kids, because we do get to spend time with them every week and build relationships, is I think my generation of parent has removed a lot of the challenge from our kids. And so kids these days just aren't very gritty or resilient. They give up super fast when things get hard. So now that book is kind of like my parenting guide of not trying to hurt the kids in any way. Like, let's not make life so gritty that, they need to go to 10 years of therapy after growing up to be like, my dad was an ass. But like, I also don't want to make life so easy that when they turn 18 and we're like, bye, they're like, I've never struggled in my life. I don't know how to struggle. I don't know how to go through hard stuff. So yeah, that's the book I picked.
I like it. I think all of those relate a different way, I think, to us in high school and to today's kids in high school and just society in general, pressures of social media and stuff like that. So it's interesting. What do they say? Like, comparison is the thief of joy, I think is, yeah. Absolutely. And so I think, there's that goes into it too, I think. And I think we're, guilty of it too. We're in it too. We're in the social media world of, that's cool, I want to do that, but not really having a why behind that. Like, that's that person's why, but that might not be my why. I'm just doing it to look cool or whatever the reason may be. So I guess that's not really a book per se, but I think also just in that stance, reflecting on who you are as a person and who you want to be and what values you hold and what you want to be known for, be known as.
Be your own person.
Be your own person. I don't know if you have anything. Just grab this out of my hand whenever you feel like it.
Well, you got to keep it in your hand.
Okay.
Because we're going to switch into it. Let's dive into some AGY stuff. And over the summer, you and I had a conversation. And so just so you know, we're audibling. I know we told you guys we were going to talk about one thing, but then I was home working on the website this morning, and I was like, we're going to switch it up. But it's still kind of the same.
It is.
But one phrase? Mm-hmm. Would be a phrase?
Yeah.
That Lainey dropped on me this summer during one of our, just one-on-one conversations about what do we got going on? What does programming look like? Mm-hmm. And, we always use change of direction, but then Laney dropped transitional speed as being more of the focus, right? Transitioning speed from one direction to another. And I think to me, it just opened my eyes up. Oh my God, I feel like I can program so different. So when you think transitional speed, or how do we get to transitional speed from change of direction? Where'd that?
To be honest, I can't remember. Like, I probably did not coin the term, so don't quote me as coining that term.
She did. We trademarked it.
But I've been down my own kind of rabbit hole discovery in this field on just how can we better help our athletes with speed. We get so many athletes that come to us who want to get faster, and there's a lot that goes into that in a team sport setting more so than just like a track setting. So in my mind, there's no in this field we like to say like either like linear acceleration or change of direction, but I really think it's more of just like a gray area, right? Like I wouldn't take such a hard stance anymore on one thing versus the other. So transitional speed I think is just more all encompassing of like what our goal to make these kids faster is. So yeah, I think one, it just makes it easier to program and think about it in that regard, and understanding that within team sport, there is going to be, even if we're making a linear run, at some point there's going to be a change of direction, right? So that is, then it's not just like, oh, well, it's linear and then change of direction. It's just we're transitioning from one thing to the other. It's all still speed. So.
Feels like less now do we have to have a change of direction day and an acceleration day. Like,
right.
in transitional speed, we're going to get everything. We're going to accelerate away from a direction, out of a cut. I love it. What drills are you using right now? Like,
gosh,
like
lots.
What's your best transitional speed drill? So they kind of get an idea.
Get an idea. It usually, I think we'll just pick on soccer just because we came off of summer with a heavily soccer population. Something I would say the majority of our athletes play in more of a midfield setting where we are transitioning from playing up top. Now we've got to drop back. So some kind of variation of like a retreating, whether it's a crossover, shuffle, however we want to accomplish that goal, into a sprint. I think that's just a super simple place to start, and then you can just evolve and make it whatever you want off of that to work more specifics from there.
Maggie, how does transitional speed hit your ears?
I like it too. I think thinking of myself as a soccer player, but then also as a coach, just looking at it as, change of speed and change of direction, it makes more sense versus you're going to do a straight acceleration for 120 yards. Like, you're never really going to do that. And even if you're at a breakaway, you got to get around the goalkeeper. You got to do some sort of cut. Like, so I think as far as programming drills, it makes a little bit more sense in my head.
We did a lot of transitional speed playing pickup yesterday.
Yeah, we did. We crushed. So whenever you guys get your shoes or whatever excuse you've given me,
We're there tomorrow.
I'll be here tomorrow.
it's time to go.
To wrap up, I saw an article on ESPN that I sent you guys that really hit home to me. Coming from, 20 years ago plus now, when I was in college. Not that my coach was an asshole like this guy we're going to talk about, but like a lot of stuff that we did was just like around like punishment or keeping you from doing stupid stuff, right? There was never, this is the why, it's going to make you better. And so when I read this, it was very much like, yeah, man, this is what we're trying not to be in one way, and very much what we're trying to be. So, Tua Tagovailoa, is that how we say his last name?
Yeah.
I didn't even like try to type it for you guys when it was like, hey, saw this article on Tua. I was just like, God, I hope they know who that is. And that's why I then put the article in. And so he's talking about the coach that he had for his rookie year and maybe his first and second years. Was it second year too?
He got fired after the second year.
Okay, fired after the second year. And so this is what he said. To put it in simplest terms, if you woke up every morning and I told you that you suck at what you did, that you didn't belong doing what you do, that you shouldn't be here, that this guy should be here, that you haven't earned this right, and then have somebody else come in and tell you, dude, you're the best fit of the team, how would it make you feel listening to one or the other, right? And so he's got Mike McDaniels now that, I don't know if you guys have watched videos of Mike McDaniels. I love the dude. He's quirky as hell. I want to be quirky like him. He's dropped his ego. He is very comfortable in who he is. And he just spends so much time just gassing up the players, right? Like just telling them how great they are, versus this idea of like, the meaner I am, the more serious they're going to take it. The meaner I am, the more we're going to get out of it. And I hate that shit. And I know we all do, which is why we're sitting at this table. And I know we had an experience like that at school. How did that affect you?
Like the relationship, well, if you want to call it a relationship with my coach. I mean, I think Tua talked about it too. When you're told those things every single day, you begin to believe it. And then it's really, really hard to pull yourself out. Luckily, I had an incredible class, and they were always there for me and other players that were experiencing the same thing. I think another thing that's really, really important is recognizing that there is that experience, there's that bad experience, that some of us have faced, that Tua has faced, and then other people under the same coach have a different, probably perceived good experience. What I've seen a lot of is the people who have had the good experience are undervaluing the people who have had the bad experience, using theirs as an argument that doesn't happen. This coach did this, and this for me. Like, they were really nice to me. They said these things to me, which is great. But I think it's really unfair to use that as an argument and say, well, there's no way that coach was this way because he treated me this way. Both can exist. And I think that's extremely important. Both can absolutely exist. It's unfair to undermine and undervalue other people's experiences.
Anybody else have a coach like that? Yeah. We should have clapped.
Thank you.
No, I totally agree with that. I mean, I think for me, what I experienced was kind of like a coach putting you in a box almost, like before you even get there, having this idea of what kind of player you are, what kind of person you are, and whether it's good or bad, right? They expect this certain thing. And I think like you cannot put that on someone. Like, they can totally prove you wrong one way or the other. And you have to, assess every game, every practice, like, what is that player doing? And so I think just trying not to put people in boxes. Yeah.
Kind of along the line of what Taylor hit on too, like when you have someone constantly beating you down every practice, every game, it gets to you, and then then the self-talk becomes, I'm not good enough because they don't think I'm good enough. And remembering that, like, the way people perceive you is different than that it's not who you are as a person, and different than you can perceive yourself. So reminding yourself of, yourself better than anyone else, right? That is who you are to your core. So not letting people shake you so much out of your own beliefs, which is hard, especially when you're in that environment day in and day out. But I think that's just a constant, reminder, like, no, I know who I am as a person. I'm not going to take that from you just because that's how you feel. So.
It goes back to like flourishing. Have you read that yet? still sitting on your shelf.
I've got like 7 books that I've got to read on my list.
Yeah, and that's just one of them that I love too. But it's about like we can't flourish until our needs are met, right? It goes back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like, why aren't coaches looking at that? And just through that alone, like, I am going to focus on this hierarchy. Like, we can't flourish until all of our needs are met. And again, some of it's out of our control, right? Like, I don't think we can assure that all kids that come in have food, have shelter, right? There's stuff out of our control. But, one of them is feeling a sense of belonging. One is, it's feeling shared purpose. It's feeling love. And I may be partial because it's us, but I think we do the best at it. Like, I think that's, if somebody took away, or if all of our athletes took away one thing, I would rather them take that away than be like, I shaved off 0.02 of my 20. Like, no, I want them to remember, because at the end of the day, sport's going to be over at some point. They're going to be retired, whether they retire their junior year of high school because they're just done, or they play 10 years as pros. Someday they're going to be done with sport, and so the testing will be irrelevant. What won't be irrelevant to me is their memories of their time at AGY and how they felt. So that's kind of why that was important to me.
Kind of build off that, like, so I'm a big believer in like tough love, and you got to earn things, but then there's a big difference between that and then mentally abusing someone and just mentally defeating someone by telling them they're garbage and they're not even worth being a quarterback. And for instance, the whole Tua situation, and then you have this guy who's beating down a dude who is mentally defeated by even the end of his first year as a pro. A guy who came into a national championship game his freshman year, came into the game cold and threw a 50-yard bomb to walk off with a national championship. And then the difference between, like we've talked about, how he's playing now under a coach who the other day came out and said it's not just about Tua. He does the same thing for all of his players. He just wants them to see the greatest image of themselves. And Tua threw for the most passing yards last year. So the difference in not only just a mental aspect, but then just the environment that a coach can bring. And now you're starting to see that that's the people that you want to play for, not the guys who are just going to mentally beat you down and tell you you're not worth it. So
would you say, is it more tough love, or is it more you have standards and you are going to make sure that those standards are held?
I mean, I think it can go a couple different ways, but it's always just how people receive that information, and it's how people give out that information. So in his mind, maybe he wasn't thinking that he was just mentally destroying this dude over and over for 2 years. Or maybe he was. Truly, honestly, I don't think we'll ever really know the full story, but just seeing the difference of just how happy and a different guy that he is now compared to what he was 2 years ago, I think that speaks volumes on it itself.
Yeah, because I feel like tough love was the, like, my parents' age of, like, I'm going to shit on you, but I love you, so it's going to be okay. Which was, like, very much like when the Yates report came out for NWSL, it was, like, immediately on high alert of every coach is an abuser, right? And then, like, I'd go out to the fields and I'd hear some coaches, and I'd really have to spend time listening to be like, are they verbally abusing, or do they just have a loud voice when they're trying to hold standards? And, kind of that was my thermometer of who is going too far. Is it personal attacks? Are they truly being mean? Or are they just like, hey, I asked you to have this standard, you're not doing it. I'm going to ask a little louder. But then when you do it, I'm going to applaud you for getting it done. So I think just holding standards will be okay. I think tough love is what my dad did. You know, my dad was great. Dad was great. It was just like how it was back then. Like, I love you, but I haven't been given the best tools to have a conversation with you. So it's going to be tough love.
That's kind of how I think it when I perceive tough love. Like, we both know you can be this good. You've shown it. You've gone to this length before. So I'm going to hold you to that standard. So then if you're dropping a little bit, I'm going to be a little bit tougher on you versus when you're already climbing that mountain. But yeah, so
that makes sense. Hey, what you got? Feel like you're ready.
I was trying to find something, but it gets frustrating because at some point in this article, they reference it as a coaching style. And I do not think that is fair at all. I think that's an extremely outdated thing. Again, Tua says he woke up in the morning and was being told that he sucked at what he did. You don't belong here. You shouldn't be here. There's no way we're considering that a coaching style still. That's crazy.
I think it's easy, like an easy way out to be like, oh, that's just my style, and not be willing to like change,
right?
At least like reflect on any aspect of your coaching style and like, how could I maybe do this a little bit better?
Yeah.
For this individual.
And I think saying it's my style is one thing, but the thing I hate equal is when a coach is like, well, that's how I was coached.
Yeah.
Cool. You had an asshole as a coach. Like,
yeah.
What if you did it differently?
I mean, this is a great example to see an outcome where a coach took a much different approach and a much more positive approach, and look how it worked out. It's completely different for the environment and for the individual themselves, like night and day.
And I think like sometimes coaches don't understand how much impact they have in someone's life. Like, we see these athletes every day. Some of these athletes, they quit because of a bad coach or a bad experience. And when I hear that, like, it hurts my heart because I know there are good coaches. I mean, it's hard to come by, but there are good coaches. And the experience you can have with a good coach is something that will last you a lifetime. And you'll remember that coach. That coach will be a mentor. It might be someone you grab coffee with. And so I think knowing that there's both out there, but a lot of people get the bad experience. It's something that I hope we can change.
Just drop the mic right there.
Boom.
I think we're going to clock out on that one. That was amazing. I love it. So, yeah, so just if you want to follow along, make sure you give us a like on Instagram. These videos go up on YouTube, and we will see you next time.
Peace.
Cheers.
I hope that got in.